Hey everybody, before we get into the Season 4 Part 1 recap of Stranger Things, if you need a Season 3 recap, I've got you covered. Just hit the tab in the upper right-hand corner. Season 4 actually doesn't start out in present day, or at least present day for Stranger Things. It starts out with a flashback to September 8th, 1979. Dr. Brenner heads to the Hawkins National Laboratories where he's got a slew of kids that he's kind of training. They all seem to have something different about them, and they're all numbered. He ends up taking a boy who's numbered 10 to go do some testings. And kind of like 11, this boy can figure out what someone is doing or where they are just by thinking really hard. He aces the first couple tests, which are just Dr. Brenner drawing pictures, and then Dr. Brenner steps it up a bit. He asks 10, I want you to find Dr. Ellis. And 10 starts thinking about it, and he's quickly able to locate Dr. Ellis. But then all of a sudden 10 says something's wrong, and his charts are spiking off the page. Then all of a sudden the alarm goes off, and Dr. Brenner gets up to see if everything's okay, and a man on the other side radios him that they've got a problem. He hears gunshots, and then 10 tells him that Dr. Ellis and 6 are dead. Dr. Brenner makes his way slowly over to the door, but the door ends up flying in and knocking him out. When Dr. Brenner finally awakes, he finds 6 dead. As he makes his way through the laboratory, he finds that not only is everybody dead, but they are mangled up. I mean, bones broken and limbs pointed where they shouldn't. There's only one person that seems to be alive in this laboratory, and that's when he sees a young number 11, who is covered in blood, has blood dripping down from her eyes and her nose, and seems real pissed off. We fast forward to March of 1986. The Byers family has moved to Lenora Hills, California, with everybody else staying in Hawkins, Indiana. Everybody continues to communicate through letter, and there are plans of them visiting each other during the upcoming spring break. The Byers kids, along with 11, had to start a new high school, which they've gotten used to. But since Jonathan's car is still broken, they have to get a ride every day from Jonathan's new friend, Argyle. While 11 tells Mike in a letter that things are going great, and she even thinks Will has a crush on a girl. Yeah, I have my doubts about that one. Things aren't really going great. Will and 11 are outsiders. I mean, they're complete nerds. 11 tries, but she's just weird. 11 and Will are in the same history class, and they're supposed to do a project on a historical figure. Will chose Alan Turing. 11 chose Hopper. When she gets up to do her presentation, she gets made fun of by the more popular girls, who coax their criticism by trying to get, quote, clarification on the project, but in reality, they're straight mocking her. And they don't realize they're mocking her dead dad. Either that or they just don't care. Her next class doesn't go much better. She gets an F. And as she's walking to her third class of the day, that popular girl who made fun of her ends up knocking into her, and 11 drops her diorama. Everybody's laughing, they're making fun of her, and the popular kids start destroying her diorama. Now, 11's held it in for a while, but this is a breaking point for her. With everybody looking, she yells at the girl, Angela! And when she turns around, 11 tries to use her powers on her, but she doesn't have any powers anymore. And she just looks like a freak. With a crowd of kids staring at two students, a teacher comes, breaks it up, and quickly realizes what happened. Takes Angela to the principal's office, and that's probably not going to help 11's social status. Jonathan has other issues. He's waiting for an acceptance letter to the same college that Nancy already got accepted to. There were plans for them to hang out during spring break, but Nancy has to work, and Jonathan can't come to her because he's waiting for that acceptance letter. He also has to watch Will. Don't get it twisted, though. They are still very much in love. And then the final members of the Byers family is Joyce. She got a new job selling encyclopedias. She seems to like it. But one day she gets a suspicious package in the mail from Russia. This is 1986. We're 2 years removed from the movie Red Dawn. Russia is still a major threat, and especially with what happened in Hawkins, Joyce gets pretty freaked out. When she opens it up, though, all she finds is a Russian doll. She doesn't know what to do or who to call, so she ends up calling Murray, the investigative journalist. He asks her if she can take the clothes off of the doll, and she notices that the doll was broken but put back together. So he tells her, smash it, but do it far away, because if it's an explosive device, you're not going to want to be in the same room with it. So Joyce has to take it outside, hook up a paint can to a rope, and she smashes the crap out of it. What she finds was a note inside the broken doll that says, Hop is alive. He looks forward to date, and then I can't really see what else the letter says. But, yeah, Shockingly, he didn't die. Now, back in Hawkins, the community is still reeling over what happened. Most of the kids have minor problems, like Mike has his parents wanting him home at 9 o'clock. Dustin is failing Latin, but with the help of Susie, he ends up getting an A in it. And Lucas has a big basketball game coming up. There's also Steve and Robin. Steve continues to work at the video store. He's got the usual girl problems, but so does Robin. She's a crush on a girl named Vicky, and she just won't ask her out because she explains to Steve that when Steve asks a girl out and he gets no, his ego's a little hurt. If Robin asks the wrong girl out, she's now the town pariah, so she has to take this thing slowly. Steve, however, is convinced that Vicky is a lesbian, so to him, it's not really a big deal. To Robin, it's huge. But the person in the group who's probably taking what happened in Hawkins the hardest is Max. She's despondent, keeping to herself and keeping her headphones on her ears. She also broke up with Lucas and doesn't seem to want anything to do with anybody. The school day starts out with a pep rally for the basketball team, same basketball team that Lucas is on. They won a huge game in the state tournament, and now they're going to be playing for the state championship. The team captain gets up to make a speech. His name's Jason, and he's the prototypical teen show jock. He's a 30-year-old who's playing an 18-year-old that happens to be dating the most popular girl in school, who is also the head cheerleader. Her name is Chrissy. Jason's speech starts out about how in the last game when they were down by 10 points, they thought about all the people who died in Hawkins. And what did they die for? Well, they didn't die for the basketball team to come back losers, that's for sure. They died to bring home a state championship. And the game is that night. This is shocking to both Mike and Dustin, who have their Dungeons and Dragons club, the Hellfire Club's big Dungeons and Dragons campaign that night. Lucas is supposed to be a part of it, but now they're finding out that Lucas is a basketball game. Max has to explain to these nerds that it's called a tournament. You continue to play until there's one team left. After the pep rally, they talk to Lucas about just skipping the game because he's just been a bench warmer all season. But Lucas explains to him it's the championship game. He can't skip it. What they can do is ask the club's leader, a kid named Eddie, to just move the campaign to any other day. Unfortunately for Lucas, neither Mike or Dustin get the severity of the situation. Lucas does try to explain that if he gets in good with these guys, he'll be in the popular crowd, which means that Dustin and Mike will also be in the popular crowd, but that doesn't seem to be something Mike or Dustin really want. But Lucas explains to him it's something that he wants, because he's tired of being bullied. He realized that in his freshman year of high school, he doesn't have to spend the next 3 years being a nerd. If he can avoid that, he's going to. If he skips the championship game, all of that is out the window. So he begs them to talk to Eddie about moving Hellfire. They agree to talk to Eddie, but it's not going to be easy. They head to lunch where Eddie is holding court with the rest of the Hellfire Club. Eddie is the rebel of the school. He's been held back twice, and he's a senior who hates jocks, hates conformity, and yet doesn't even realize the irony of the fact that he himself is in uniform because all of the Hellfire kids are wearing the same exact t-shirt. Dustin and Mike gently bring up to him moving the campaign that night for Lucas, saying that they can't finish it without him. And Eddie gets up and gives them a speech about how he found them, so they need to get up and find a replacement. Now. They look all over the place, but they come up short. And Dustin has one idea, and that's that they're just looking in the wrong place. So after school, Dustin and Mike head off. One of the people that they did ask was Max, but as I said, she's despondent. She has to go meet with the school's guidance counselor, and as she's walking there, she sees Chrissy walking out looking really upset. Max walks in, and one of the reasons she's there is her grades have taken a hit, which is unusual for her. It's understandable, though, after what happened with Billy. Her stepdad is now gone, and her mother is working 2 jobs. They had to move out of the house that they were living in, and now they live in a trailer. Her mom also has a drinking problem. The school guidance counselor knows all of this. She also knows that Max is dealing with nightmares, and even though Max says she's sleeping fine, she's not. When Max leaves the guidance counselor's office, she runs into Lucas, but she doesn't want to talk to him. Lucas offers her a ticket to the basketball game, but she doesn't want to go. He ends up pissing off Max, and he says, it's just like you're not even here anymore, like you're a ghost. She ends up giving him the, look, people change speech, a speech that I've heard from every girl that's ever broken up with me, which is a long list. She rushes into the bathroom to clean up, but she overhears somebody throwing up, and it's Chrissy. She asks if Chrissy's okay, and Chrissy tells her, just get out of here. Max leaves, but to Chrissy, somebody is still in the bathroom. Chrissy overhears her mom say, "Are you ready to try on the dress again?" And then all of a sudden, the lights start flickering, the stall door starts rattling quite a bit, and she looks down and sees feet below the stall that are not human. Yet she's still hearing her mother's voice yell at her. Chrissy is left in the fetal position near the toilet, yelling for whatever it is outside to go away. And then all of a sudden, it stops. She walks out, and it's as if it never happened. Chrissy needs to do something about this. She needs to take the edge off. She needs drugs. She goes to the one guy in school she knows can get it, and that's Eddie. They agree to do the deal in the woods. Chrissy's the first to arrive, and one of the trees she notices turns into a clock. When she gets closer, the clock has spiders pouring out of it. She's pretty freaked out, and then Eddie shows up. He scares the crap out of her, but when she looks back at that tree trunk, it's back to normal. Eddie gives her the price for the weed, but it's clear to him that she's on edge. He tells her, "We don't have to do this." And she asks him, "Do you ever feel like you're losing your mind?" And Eddie says, "Yeah, all the time. I mean, like, for example, right now, I'm selling drugs to Chrissy Cunningham, the queen of Hawkins High." He then starts joking around, making her laugh a little bit, and even goes as far as to invite her to one of his band's shows. Because in Hawkins, Indiana, girls really do like bad boys. But then they get down to the drug deal. He lowers the price, but she asks, "Do you have anything stronger?" And he does, but it's back at his place. So they agree that night, after the basketball game and after his Dungeons & Dragons campaign, they'll head over together and grab the Special K. That night, Chrissy goes to the basketball game to cheer on the basketball team. Robin is there, along with her bandmate Vicky. And Steve shows up with one of the many girls he wants to date / is dating. Lucas, by the way, is firmly planted on the bench. That is, until one of the players goes out and he's forced into the lineup. Hawkins is down by 1 point. The coach draws up a play, and Jason misses the shot. But Lucas grabs the rebound, puts up a prayer, and it goes in. Lucas's shot wins Hawkins their first championship in a while. But on the other side of the school, the Hellfire Club is also in a battle for their lives. Not literally, metaphorically. The replacement that Dustin came up with was Erica. At first, Eddie is completely dismissive, but Erica proves her worth. Just like the basketball game, it comes down to the final roll of the dice, and the group is able to win the campaign. As Lucas is exiting the basketball game with his team, celebrating, inviting him to parties, he sees the Hellfire Club exit as well, and they're just as excited. But Lucas feels a little empty inside because they did it without him. Max is at home, and she hears what happened on the radio. She then heads out in the living room and cleans up the beer cans as her mother is passed out on the couch. She goes outside to feed the dog, and that's when she notices her neighbor from across the street has shown up. It's Eddie, along with Chrissy, which is really, really bizarre to Max. Eddie and Chrissy head in, and Eddie starts looking around the house for the Special K. He has to go in the back of his room to find it, and he does, but when he comes out, Chrissy is a zombie. And that's because Chrissy is in the Upside Down. She is back at her house, running away from her mother, who is dead and possessed, running away from her father, and trying to avoid whatever it was that was in the bathroom. But she can't. This monster, which really just looks like a large human being without skin, corners Chrissy in the Upside Down and tells her, "Don't cry. It's time for your suffering." He then puts his hand on Chrissy in the Upside Down, and Chrissy in real life starts to levitate. When Eddie came out, he was very disturbed by what he saw, and he was trying to snap Chrissy out of it, but when Chrissy starts to levitate, he backs up. Chrissy then slams against the ceiling, and her body and bones start breaking. Just like the children from 1976, her limbs are pointed in the wrong direction, and Chrissy is dead. So Eddie's going to have a fun time explaining that one to the cops. Thank you so much for checking out this recap. Please consider subscribing to the channel and subscribing to my Patreon. Hit thumbs up if you liked it. Smash that thumbs down button if you thought it sucked. If you left a comment, I don't get back to you. I usually don't check the comments unless they're like a super comment. Also, if you don't see the next video up on the end screen, not to worry, it'll be up in a day or two.